It's episode number 72 of Wanderers FC. It's the start of season 10. A transfer special awaits. Let's run the intro and get straight into things. Yes, folks, how is it going? And a warm welcome back. It's Park to Prem, as I've already mentioned. It's Wanderers. I'll apologise first and foremost. There wasn't a video yesterday. For those of you that don't know, the last kind of week and a half's worth of videos were actually all pre-recorded. I hate to, pull back the curtain and ruin the illusion, but I was away travelling around Southeast Asia, had a lovely little holiday, came back expecting FM25 news. I'm sure I'll have a video to release on FM25 at some point. Just last video I was talking about the game coming out in March. Maybe next season would be the last. Right here now as I sit here, I don't know what's going on. I don't think anyone knows what's going on. But anyway, in terms of today's transfer special, I'm going to try and get it all into a single video like we did last year. We're at a point now in this save game, especially with the Premier League kind of level and the transfer restriction we have, where the pool of players actually available for me to possibly sign who are English just isn't actually that big anymore. When you narrow things down to Champions League quality, English, there's maybe 100 players at a push that are possible signings. Obviously, we have some money to try and make those signings. We're going to try and pick out some of those players. Admittedly, the transfer budget doesn't look all that good, does it? Now, I have come back a little bit later for this transfer special as well. It's the 15th of June in game, so about 2 months till the season starts. I've come back today because the transfer window is open and Jeremy Lechevier is back. Of course, we've signed him to be a homegrown at club kind of backup. He will actually be going back on loan to Sochaux for 1 more year. I didn't realise this. I've actually made a profit on him in selling him and then signing him back a few years later. But in terms of third choice goalkeeper who's homegrown at club, look, it's not an exciting signing. I'm not going to pretend it is. It's just a sensible signing. And as already mentioned, we're kind of at a point now with this save game where the pool of players available to us isn't actually that vast, at least players that are going to improve the squad. Here is what I consider to be our best possible starting 11 and bench. To be honest, I feel like it's quite good. That said, there is one player that I think I was thinking about signing, and a lot of you guys mentioned the possibility of signing too, and that is a player who goes by the name of Jamie Pearson. Of course, Wolverhampton Wanderers have been relegated in this save game, but they have also qualified for the Champions League. Despite that, Jamie here has a relegation release clause of 36 million. The English forward, I'll be honest, looks really, really good. I actually ummed and ahed about signing him previously, and whilst he will cost me the bulk of my transfer budget, I think he's worth pulling the trigger on. So active relegation release clause of 36 million. I'm not going to be able to get him cheaper than that, so I'm not even going to try and negotiate it. Of course, when I looked at signing him before, I decided he just wasn't quite the right player for us at the moment in time. I kind of look at the squad now and I look at our attacking options. I feel like he'd be another fun player to add, and if I do add him, maybe I can look on moving Nicky Meredith. That might be the play. I feel like for the past few years, I've kind of had Bernard Brennan and Nicky Meredith competing for the tall striker role in the team, and for a long time I viewed Bernard Brennan as the backup. This year, he's not the backup anymore, is he? Ended up starting more games than Nicky Meredith, but you can see 20 goal returns to his name. A really, really impressive performance. Super consistent player as well, Bernard Brennan. Bit of a shame he's had a bit of a decline in training lately, but even with our free strikers, if we do make a new addition, Nicky Meredith's going to find himself too far down the pecking order. I'm looking at his valuation and I'm thinking, let's offer him out and see if we get any other bids. When it comes to the remainder of the team, I'm kind of looking at the players outside of those on the bench. There's no one who I feel desperate now to suddenly move on. I feel like in terms of depth last year, it was adequate. Of course, one thing that is going to be an issue, really, or rather it has been an issue, it's not going to be an issue anymore, is on the stadium front, where we're due to move into our new stadium in a matter of 2 weeks. Of course, for the past, 9 years, we've been stuck in a stadium that holds 9,000 fans. That wasn't even our own ground. Suddenly, we're moving into a ground that holds 24,000 fans. That is hopefully, over the course of the next few years, going to see our wage budget increase. I feel like it's really important to reiterate at this point, in spite of the fact that we have finished 5th in the Premier League and got Champions League football for a second year in a row, due to the stadium issue, we actually still have the lowest salary per year spend in the entirety of the Premier League. And in fact, when you look at things here, Everton in 12th spend twice as much money, really, on wages annually compared to us. This has been a massive, massive issue. I think it's one of the issues why this year I can't go out and maybe sign as many players as you guys might expect me to. Until we have our own stadium, which finally is arriving, I've not been able to go crazy with the wages. I'm looking through the team here in terms of players that played matches. You can see we did have a fairly steady and stable starting 11, but a number of players who featured in over 30 games as starters. In terms of those players that didn't feature so much, I guess Johan Norlin, or Carl Johan Norlin, should include his whole name, is a player I could possibly look to move on. Of course, he was a player we brought back into the team, having loaned him out for the first half of the year. Yeah, I'm going to offer him out and see if I can get any interest. James Wells is another centre-back option, but unlike Norlin, he is, I think, just a slightly better player with a bit more potential. I'll be honest, the difference between them isn't all that vast. I probably don't need both these guys around. Carl Johan, definitely the player I'm more interested in selling. Okay, good news. Wolves have accepted the release clause bid. It's not as if they couldn't have accepted that. You can see he's got more interest in joining Liverpool and Newcastle. I feel like that might be an indicator that our reputation hasn't quite caught up with us yet. He wants to be able to treat the club as a stepping stone. Absolutely not. Going to lower these things here. He wants to be a starter over time. I think I can promise him that. In terms of his wages, his demands actually seem kind of low, given the fact that wage budget isn't exactly a super strict issue right now. I'm kind of tempted to throw a load of money at this guy because I think he's going to be worth it, and I definitely want to beat the likes of Liverpool and Newcastle to his signature. We're spending about 60,000 under the wage budget that's been set. I'm going to offer him £45,000 here. This is a lot more money than I think he was going to be asking for. And yet, his agent has instantly gone, I've been backed into a corner by your conditions. I offered £45,000. I feel like before the negotiations, it said £25,000. I mean, maybe I'm not signing Jamie then. That's awkward. I do still feel like with the abundance of attacking talent that we have, exploring options with Nicky Meredith still probably is the right move. Of course, we've also got Sean Steele, who we signed in January, who I want to give more game time to. In all honesty, when you look at things, Pearson was just kind of the luxury obvious signing because of the release clause. Maybe there's better options out there that I wouldn't have encountered had he not just turned me down. Or maybe, just maybe, I've made a cock up there. Probably the latter. I mean, in terms of English players scouted here, sorted by ability, there's not exactly a load of options. Caden Young is one player who's kind of been half suggested at me. I don't play with wingers, do I? So he's not a signing I'm going to be making. Ben McNamee, he's a winger, isn't he? The best two players here are wingers. That is frustrating. I mean, to be fair, if I sort by transfer value, there are some players here who they're not already scouted, like Rule Walters here, but he's not that good, is he? The other option I noticed here is Soonsut Bell, who's got loads of cut caps for the Thai national team in this save game. Of course, once upon a time, a Park to Prem legend. He's not good enough, is he? He's not good enough. If I sort by reputation, I mean, there's a few more players here, but it's all kind of older players that I don't necessarily know if I want to sign with respect to Reece Nelson, whose legs have fallen off in this universe. I actually think the most sensible thing to do at this point is just mash continue for a little bit. I kind of want to go back in for Pearson. I kind of want to see if we get any offers for Nicky Meredith. The season tick-over date is less than a week away. Maybe that will help me pick up some players. Also, I'm getting bids here. West Ham have made a bid for Mick Garry, who we brought in to be a squad player last year, actually made 22 appearances on off the bench. I spent £22 million on him. West Ham have bid, well, up to 19. What are they smoking? Ryan Timms has had a load of interest in him. This guy's homegrown at club. He's a goalkeeper. I don't need him, do I? I should probably just cash in a little bit of money. It's weird, right? With Park to Prem, traditionally, you get to kind of the end of season bit where we're in the Champions League, and I feel like the game gets easier. There's more money being thrown at you. You can find better value for money, and a lot more players from afar are interested in joining. Due to our transfer restriction, making that step from kind of 5th place in the Premier League consistently to title challengers, that might be the toughest step of all to make because there's not that many players out there who are English, Champions League quality, and actually want to join me, who don't already play for one of the big boys. I guess the other thing is the transfer restriction kind of limits the amount of wheeling and dealing I can do. Obviously, if you don't have the transfer restriction that we have, I feel like you can pretty much sell any player and buy a very similar quality player. That isn't quite the same with English players, I'm afraid to say. I think it's quite telling that if we look at the England national team now, 6 of the players in the England national team are my own players. And when you kind of look at the players that aren't my own, there's not all that many of the players listed here who are going to be interested in joining me, sadly. Right, it's almost been a week. Jamie, do you want to talk to me again? I mean, good news is no one else has triggered his release clause yet. Bad news is teams might start doing that sooner rather than later. Still doesn't want to talk to me yet. Apparently our statue grew a little over the last 12 months. Bit annoying. That I was hoping it was going to grow by more than a little. Small reputation boost. Sad. Right, Ryan Timms is leaving to join Dunfermline, the backup goalkeeper. Never going to be good enough to play for us. Oh, and if you're wondering about Nicky Meredith and Johan, no one wants them. So there's not any transfers happening right now. I mean, some fun news. First game of the season this year is going to be the Community Shield for us against Arsenal. Not so fun news. Means our season starts a week sooner. I need to have stuff done by the 1st of August. Board expectations, by the way, for the coming year, you can see reach the league table phase of the Champions League. I mean, we are guaranteed to do that. So I'm going to up it up to kind of knockout first round. In terms of everything else, top half finish in the Premier League. I feel like I can manage that. Does anyone else hate these inbox items where the board come to you to discuss a club improvement and then it's just like wages for a staff role that you've already got a good staff member in? I feel like this always pops up in Football Manager. And from my experience, you can never convince them to do anything differently. Like, I could ask them, hey, well, how about we up the scouting range? No, not happening. They want to give the head analyst more money. They're going to do it. Okay, the season tick-over date has officially occurred. We are going to be given £80 million. Premier League fixtures, first league game of the year, home against West Ham. A load of our first team players, by the way, who had contracts pre-agreed to kick in, as you can see here at the end of the season, have committed to those new deals. Marcus Sheldon, now on £90,000 a week, but crucially, he's committed his long-term future to the club. And elsewhere, Gavin Wallace signing a new contract, 5-year deal for him, 22 years old. When you look at players judged by star ratings in the starting 11, he is technically the worst. He is also England's international left-back, alongside the player who plays alongside him in Benito Lloyd-Weston. Yeah, the left-back is an issue when you look at stars. I also have England's best 2 left-backs. Peter Ahmed here has had a bid made for him by Ross County. I know it's in instalments. I just need to sell Peter here. He's not good enough. If you were wondering, by the way, board feedback right now, they're giving me a B. I feel like that's harsh considering everything I've done for the club. You can see the newly updated objectives on the left-hand side here. In terms of the actual board culture, despite the fact that I feel like they're asking for an unreasonable amount of different kind of playing style requirements, right now they're pleased with them all. I feel like that doesn't often happen in FM. Have to admit though, with those new contracts that some of those players signed, like Anson, Wallace and Sheldon, we are technically now over our wage budget. We'll rejig a little just so we're in the budgets. Okay, good news everyone, put in another bid for Pearson. He has had it accepted, and crucially, he does actually want to join me. £45,000 to £67,000. Let's lodge that number in our noggin. We're going to get rid of the release clause that he wants. And now I have to make an offer, and I don't want to make him angry. So I'm going to throw probably too much money at this guy because I think he's worth signing. And if I have to overpay on his wages a little, hopefully it's worth it in terms of what he's going to be able to offer us and also what he's saving with his transfer fee. I really want to lock in the optional contract extension, but that's what made him upset before. So you know what? We'll leave it unlocked in. £70,000. He's asked for 98 and his agent's already unhappy. This is really good, isn't it? Love this Football Manager. Wage demand's 45 to 67,000. No, it's 90,000. Why am I being lied to? I mean, frustratingly, it will make him one of the top earners at the club, but I feel like in the coming years with the new stadium, we are going to be able to justify these kind of wages. I'm going to knock it down to 95,000 and hope his agent doesn't get arsey about £3,000. I mean, it's a lot of money, but for a 20-year-old wonderkid English striker, 36 million feels like a steal for this guy. He's really, really good. We have just missed his birthday as well, so we don't have to buy him a birthday cake, so more money saved. Decided to ask Nicky Meredith's agent if there was any interest. Apparently, there's not. What about if I hire an intermediary? The intermediary thinks they can get me some bids between 13 and 17 million. The bloke is owed at 47 to 52 million. I don't even have to sell him, really. Things you love to see. The Wanderers board have proudly announced the completion of the club's move to the Wanderers Stadium. Yeah, I'll be honest, it's not the most inspiring of names, but you guys can change that because I'm giving you a chance now to go down in the comments and leave your name suggestion for this stadium. You may remember, I think it was last year, with Murphy and Gomez Stadium. Remember that at Rugby Town? I gave you guys a chance to name the stadium. I'm going to give you guys a chance to name this stadium here. So go down in the comments if you've got a name suggestion. Make it a reference to something that happened in this save game, of course. And of course, if you scroll down below and you see ones you like, thumbs those ones up. The most liked comment on Monday will be the stadium name that we go with for the rest of the save game. Once in a lifetime opportunity to name a stadium. Also, if the stadium gets named Stadium Mixed Stadium Face, we're not allowing that as a vote. I want it to be a reference to a player or something at least to do with this save game. I do feel a bit sad to leave Brisbane Road, I have to admit, but look at the capacity. I say look at the capacity. 24,000 isn't actually that big. Can I just ask them to make it bigger instantly? I feel like that might be needed. The expansion capacity could go up to 36,000. That still feels a little on the low side to me. I will say, now the season has ticked over, there's a few bigger names that I could potentially look to sign. Byner Gittins here is still playing for Dortmund. Probably not the kind of player I need. I noticed Phil Foden is available. Of course, he plays for Chelsea in this universe. He has aged absolutely horrifically. His legs are dropping off pretty quickly. Livramento is an option if I wanted to sign Livramento. Yeah, there's new players available. None of them are feeling particularly inspiring and like players I have to sign. There's some bloke called Will Lancashire available. Never heard of him. Oh, Newcastle, piss off. They've made a bid for Jamie Pearson. They've offered a contract to him as well. Like, right, Jamie, hello, it's me. You can have the 100,000 you asked for. Give you 7.5 million in a loyalty bonus as well. If he turns this now down to go to Newcastle, he's got no morals. I mean, maybe it'll be a blessing if I don't sign Pearson, because Nicky Meredith, no one wants him. Okay, the season starts in a month. We've not signed anyone yet. Although, look at this. We are selling players. Shea Salmon, not going to be sold. Another loan out for this guy, I think, is going to be the move. 21 years old. Could be our future first-choice goalkeeper. Played regular minutes last year in the Championship for firstly Birmingham and then moved to Forest for the second half of the year where he played much better. Luton have shown interest. They want to make him a regular starter. That works for me. Have just realised in this universe, Luton playing League One. Luton have been relegated to League One. Ryan Cherky is their key player. He's not as good as I thought he was going to be. This is a very strange universe. I'm now having doubts about salmon. But the thing is, with salmon, it tastes good, doesn't it? It's not cheap, but I mean, Luton should be a good team in League One, so maybe it's a good chance for him to play football and hopefully rack up some clean sheets, get a good rating, which maybe helps with his development. I feel like ratings don't help with game development, but maybe they do. Clubs in England release players. Every time this comes through, I get excited thinking there's going to be some players I can sign. There's going to be some good English players. There's never players who are English. I mean, Czech Decore, have you taken up English nationality? No, he hasn't. Looked through all the options here. They're all crap. Okay, Peter Ahmed's leaving to go to Ross County. That's good. In some other news, Louis Jackson's made a transfer that we're getting paid £2,000 because of. Remember Louis Jackson back in the day? Yeah, now plays for Kilmarnock. Of course, once upon a time, he played alongside Jack Kingdon, who, as a reminder, we sold to Wrexham for £3.3 million. To be fair, he's playing for them regularly in the Championship. So maybe it wasn't the worst transfer in the world, although I look at him now, he's not that good, is he? He's on £41,000 a week. No wonder Wrexham are stuck in the Championship. Bad news. The board don't want to expand the stadium. I mean, it was only finished like a week ago. I'll ask them for it to do it again. We're not sure it's a good idea. I accept your stance, but I'd urge you to consider a modest stadium expansion. They don't want to do it. Maybe next year. I mean, to be fair, I have no idea out of 24,000 seats how many seats are actually going to be filled with bums on them. I suppose we'll find out over the course of this year. I'd like to think that we have 20,000 fans turning up at the very least. I mean, if Jamie Pearson doesn't agree to sign for me, this could be the first transfer special where there's just no transfers made because there's not that many players I'm interested in signing. Arsenal have given me a chance to become their manager. What's going on here? Arsenal have won the league the last 2 years. Manager's left? Oh, Pioli's left. Where's he gone? He's just unemployed. He's just walked. He won the Premier League twice and gone, I'm done now. As tempting as it is, Arsenal, I'm going to have to politely decline, aren't I? Sorry. Pearson is seeking new talks in Newcastle. Reports leaking out of Newcastle suggest Pearson is happy to join the club if negotiations are reopened, despite having better offers on the table from elsewhere. I've given him more money than Newcastle, and I still might not be able to sign him. I am absolutely fuming. I've pinned all my hopes and dreams on signing him, and he's gone to Newcastle. He's actually gone to Newcastle. I just feel sad. I've got worked up there, sorry. Rachid Mohamed wants a new contract. Rachid, now is not the time, my friend. You're on £27,000 for 3 years. You know what? Maybe I should give him more. He wants 145 to 180. No, he's not calling me at a good time. Ajaria's tried the same. I've just declined to talk to Ajaria. Mate, you literally signed a contract last year. Right, well, I've got £37 million to spend on someone. There's some new players here, actually. Jonathan Banks of Everton. I mean, he's very good, isn't he? 24 years old, he's very good. Hates important matches, though. He's also a centre mid or a striker. He's definitely more of a centre mid, and I play with defensive mids. But, I mean, hear me out. Hear me. I might be cooking too much here. Regista? He's actually quite a good Regista. I guess the question is he better than Flood? I mean, he can't defend as well, but he probably is better than Flood, isn't he? Mind you, he is already on £155,000. I also can't really afford him. Or can I? Maybe with instalments? Maybe. He's valued at 60 million. How about 25 million up front? I'll give you 35 million over 3 years. I feel like with the new stadium, I can afford that kind of deal. They've asked for 112 million. Yeah, that ain't going to work, is it? I have seen a lot of people being very critical of Caleb Anson, saying if I don't replace Caleb Anson, I'm never going to succeed in this save game. I mean, the issue I've got is there's just not many good English goalkeepers. Like, Aaron Ramsdale is still England's #1 at 35 years old. I mean, technically, I could maybe sign him. Is he that much better than Anson at 35? I don't think he is. Anson's shot stopping, aerial ability and communication are really good. And in terms of England's other options, James Trafford is the #2 who, well, with respect to him, I think Anson's better than him. And then the next option is Spike Britt. So you might remember for a number of years, I actually had the possibility of signing the 26-year-old. He's not an awful player. He's just quick. He's a goalkeeper who can run fast. He can't even jump as well as Anson. All of that to say that in any other save game, yeah, maybe I would look to replace Caleb Anson, and I have looked at it as a possibility. It's just not a possibility. There's lack of goalkeepers that are English. I mean, the other option would be just to go with some younger players. Like, there's a couple of players here who I looked at in England's youth squad setup who look really good. Johnny Bedini here is a kind of centre attacking mid who plays at Inter. I mean, he's got potential. His current ability is not great. And Naylor Clark was another player I looked at. Both these guys were playing in the England under-21s at 18 and had 5-star potential, so they kind of stood out as really big options. Naylor Clark here he's not bad, but I don't think either of these players is worth throwing 30 million on. What happens if I just do a transfer special where I literally don't sign anyone? What if I just run back the last season with the same squad again? Oh, look, AA's in the last year of his contract at Aston Villa. It's actually depressing how bad he is, isn't it, really? The fact that I managed to sell him to Aston Villa for... Well, it says it was a free transfer. It wasn't a free transfer. I can tell you now, I sold him to Villa for like 10 million. Why does that say free? No idea. That's a very weird bug. You can see here on the history page under milestones, they definitely paid 10.25 million for him. In hindsight, what a great sale. Harvey Elliott's available for transfer. Funny that, innit? Funny that. Look at that. 1 goal in 3 seasons for Crystal Palace. I mean, the weird thing is, had I actually signed Harvey Elliott 3 years ago, never would have ended up playing the 3-striker system. It would be a very, very different save game right now. I was just having another look through the England national team squad. Chris Barrett is the only player who I feel like I could possibly sign who's affordable and would actually be a good addition to the team. You can just see it when I sort players by value. given our transfer budget is kind of like £36 million, more than half the squad don't even fall within the budget that I have. Chris Barrett, though, 21 years old, 13 caps, 5 goals. Spent last year on loan at Bournemouth. He actually joined Arsenal from Man City on a free transfer. And at the time, I wanted to sign him, but he wouldn't join me. Value between 30 and 36 million is a little on the steep side. He's got some really nice physicals and some decent technicals. He's the kind of player where if I could loan him for a year, see how he fits, but maybe have an option to buy, that might be the play. Kind of, it's a bit of a glorified trial for a year. Arsenal want all his wages paid for, which I can definitely do. I'm not able to put in a mandatory future fee, but should I put in an optional future fee? You know what? Optional future fee of 30 million for him. Like, if he's good, if he plays to kind of what we're getting him for here, I'm happy to throw some money at him. If he plays for us this year, he'll cost us £4 million for the loan. If he doesn't play for us, he'll cost us £6 million. They've upped the optional fee to 47 million, but maybe there's a deal to be had here. They keep just putting it back up to 47 million, and it's really annoying me. Okay, look, Arsenal, I'll pay you more money up front. I'll pay you 5.5 million up front, but if he's good, I want the option to sign him for 30 million. They're hell-bent on the 47 million, and at that point, I almost feel like it's just better to sign him for 30 to 36 million now. He's 21. Question marks over his potential, but even if he doesn't improve, he's still a very good striker. I mean, compared to Christopher Hernandez, he's definitely better than Christopher Hernandez. Compared to Nicky Meredith, yeah, he's not as good in the air, but in terms of his pace, much better. Mentally lacking maybe, but he's 21 and available for less. I mean, is he as good as Pearson? That's now what I'm wondering. I mean, you know what? He's a year older. I'm being a bit disingenuous there. He's about a year and a half older. He's not that far removed, right? I'll make a bid. Of course, I've got to trust here that the agents have been accurate with the amount they've said he'll cost me. If I can get him for 36 million, I'd be a happy chappy. Okay, 36 million accepted. Let's get to the contract negotiations. I've already learnt today not to celebrate too soon. Let's see if we can actually get the negotiations done here. Wants to be a squad player, wants a release clause. That ain't happening, sunshine. There's a few things I hate here. The wage after league games is a little on the high side. I'll give him a little bit more in bonuses. Relegation release clause. If we go down, you can leave for 20 million. Offered that out. He's up the wages a little. If I can get him for 90,000, be great. I really want him on a 5-year deal. And he's accepted it. Right. I mean, he is an unknown quantity, and I feel like in a slightly weird way, I am almost just signing a player for the sake of it. But I think he could be a good player, and at 30 million, I think he's not bad value for money. Okay, Shea Salmon is heading out on loan to Luton Town. I think that's a decent loan move. No championship teams are interested in him. Elsewhere, Andy Robinson, good little striker. You might remember we picked him up last year for 4.4 million. Had a decent loan spell at Bolton, actually. 8 goals in 30 games for them. They've actually come back in for him again this year. Have already accepted an offer from Stoke in the Championship, but I wouldn't mind it if he played in League One, given the fact that I feel like he played quite well for Bolton. The 19-year-old we signed for 4.4 million. Not really good enough for our first team. Not sure he ever will be good enough for our first team, but I'd love to flip him on for a bit of money. The squad is unhappy with the treatment of Ajaria and Rachid Mohamed. Everything that could go wrong today is going wrong. Why doesn't Tammy deserve a new contract? We think he does. Corby. You are a child. You are a child. His demands are unreasonable. Oh, okay, look, Alfie's a man of reason. That was positive. Bloody hell. I love the fact that Ajaria is turning up for the meeting about Rachid Mohamed and Rachid Mohamed's turning up for the meeting about Ajaria. They're both absolute snakes. Ajaria signed this contract last summer. He signed this contract last summer. He now wants £115,000 a week. He's currently on 44,000. What is he doing? Like, genuinely, what are we waffling about here, Tammy? I'm not even going to talk. I should probably talk to the players, shouldn't I? Really? There's unreasonable demands. That was productive. No winning them over here, is there? And I know there's going to be the sympathisers saying, well, just give them more wage budget. I don't have a wage budget to give them. I'm already over the wage budget. This is all because I gave Andy White and Ashley Phillips and Sheldon these new contracts. If I hadn't given them £110,000, none of this headache is happening. To all the people who tell me, to offer up more wages and stuff, and why do I keep the wage demands low on influential players? This is why. If I'd kept Andy White's wages lower, then none of this happens. Okay, I got a transfer done today. You can all leave me alone now. Chris Barrett is here. Have I signed him partially because it's a transfer special and I feel like I should do a transfer? Yes. I will say, he's got 13 caps for England and 5 goals at the age of 21. He is still a very, very good striker in his own right. Really, really good physicals. Nice mentals in the areas that matter as well for kind of an advanced forward. I feel like he will be a useful player for us. He is also left-footed. That is a nice little bonus. It does really make me now, though, want to sell Nicky Meredith. We signed him for 31 million. I don't feel like I'm going to get 31 million for him, am I? I mean, Rachid Mohamed is wanted by Liverpool and Man City. And if I just compare him with, the new signing, is there an argument to say Chris Barrett is better than Rachid Mohamed? I don't want to whisper it too loudly. I feel like you could make that argument. Rachid Mohamed is a very weird player because if you look at him in terms of kind of current ability, he probably is a top 3 player for us. But I feel like of our strikers, he is the least essential. And he's also the player who, when I look at kind of his comparison to other players in the squad, I feel like he is the least kind of clear-cut better than other players. And I look at the value of 52 to 62 million and I do wonder, could I sell him? I mean, Rachid Mohamed has really good physicals, and he does have an edge over someone like Sean Steele, say, the 19-year-old that we signed. But if I could get 60 million for Rachid Mohamed, Sean Steele then gets more first-team opportunities. Is there a world where he ends up better than Rachid? I think there could be. The issue is that Rachid Mohamed, in terms of performance level, has only got better and better and better with us. I mean, you can see here, last year, 7.39 rating. I kind of want to just offer him out and see what the interest might be like. Like, Liverpool and Man City are sniffing around. If I could get 60 million, I think I take the money and run. I will say I am shocked in myself that I'm even considering this right now, but I just feel like it's the right thing to do. Brian Henderson, by the way, also unhappy with the club about the current contract situation. He wants 74 to 92,000 pounds. You know what? That is a slightly more reasonable amount of money that he's asking for. Let's see if I can actually negotiate a contract with him that makes sense. Why is he locked in a sell-on fee? Why is there a yearly wage rise and the initial wages are £105,000? Like, I just chatted with him and he wasn't going to ask for that much. I'm now clicking around with anger trying to find the thing where it said about his demands, but I think it's just gone. You can see here, I talked with his agent literally today. He wants a wage between 74,000 and 92,000. What happened? I mean, I guess it's because I've said that I want this to be a contract that kicks in at the end of the season, but I don't even feel like that's that unreasonable. I'll offer him 90,000. If he turns down this, I'd almost just feel like it's not worth talking to him. I mean, what is this? What? I've even given him a contract there that I probably would have withdrawn and he's turned it down. What are you doing, Brian? Can you tell that I'm just a bit impatient and losing my mind today? Had a lovely holiday, had a nice couple of weeks break from this Saves game. I knew this transfer window was going to be tough in terms of finding the right players to recruit and kind of dealing with any contract issues. Why does Hatswell want a new contract as well? I mean, admittedly, Corby Hatswell is on £25,000 a week. So if there's someone who should complain about his wages, it probably is Corby. He wants a star player role. He wants to be played in the Carrilero role. I've got some bad news for him on that front. I mean, look, I will offer him a new contract. I still want to have it start at the end of the season. Of all the players in the team, he is probably the one who I'd be willing to pay £120,000 to. I mean, this is a contract that will kick in next year as well, so that is worth considering. 115, I really want a 5-year deal. 120, 5-year deal. He now wants 140. He's trying to upset me. I'll up the agent fee and his loyalty bonus. You know what, Corby? Have your money. Like I said, of all the players in the team who have asked for new contracts, he is probably the man who's most justified to do it. He's now playing for England's national team regularly. He's one of the players who's been in and out of the media Dream 11 in the Premier League. I have to keep him around. No offers for Nicky Meredith, but offers made for Rachid Mohamed. 56 million from Al Hilal. Man City have offered 65 million, but it involves instalments. If I'm being honest, I don't really want to sell Rachid to Man City. If I'm going to sell him to Man City, I want money and I kind of want it up front, not instalments. I'm tempted to ask for 70 million off Man City and see what they do. Al Hilal's offer is 56 million. You know what? That's a 65 million off Man City. Okay, well, they've just turned that down immediately. Well, wasn't their initial offer like only just below that? Okay, that now makes me a bit scared to renegotiate here. 56 million for Rachid Mohamed is an absurd amount of money, and the cogs are turning in my head. I might have an idea. Okay, I'm going to accept this offer. I could still end up cancelling it if I can't find the right player. But of course, I feel like we've already got a player who you could argue is better than Mohamed in Chris Barrett here. Is that mad? Comparing these two players head to head, I feel like there's not a world of difference. And if I do get 57 million, could I find a way to sign Jonathan Banks? Could Johnny here be the solution? I mean, he's valued at 61 million plus. I'm only getting 50 million up front. So if I'm going to try and do this, it is going to have to be with installments. I'm going to offer 40 million up front initially and then 30 million over 3 years. It might be doable. I'm going to try 40 million up front, then 40 million over 3 years. I mean, the question becomes, is Jonathan Banks this good? Part of me wonders if I would trade him to play Rachid at defensive mid, but in all honesty, he'd be a really good kind of creative attacker. I look at his flair, I look at his passing, I look at his vision, and I feel like as a complete forward, he could be a really good player for us. Admittedly, his kind of dribbling and finishing aren't necessarily the best, but when I compare him against Sheldon and also Andy White, he would offer a very, very different dimension to them both. When we look at the head-to-head here, I just like the creativity. I feel like at the moment with our three strikers, I've kind of had to just kind of nail a square peg into a round hole with Sheldon, making him a complete forward, just to try and provide a bit of creativity. Getting a natural creative player in the final third could be the play. I mean, saying all of that, I've still got to deal with wages and stuff, and I'm a bit concerned about these wages, if I'm being honest. He wants 180,000, and that's with a 10% yearly wage rise. Currently, my highest earner is definitely not on that kind of wage, and I can only adjust these budgets so much. Oh, this isn't going to work, is it? This is not going to work. I'll up the sell-on clause here, much against my better judgment. I can up the goal bonus as well. He's going to be playing a lot for us. I mean, the appearance fee is going to have to go up as well here. The issue I've got is I can't get near his wage demands. I'm about 50,000 short. And I have now removed a yearly wage rise as well. Although saying all of that, he has now accepted that offer, which I'm kind of surprised he's accepted it, but it's a lot better than I was thinking it was going to be. Jonathan Banks is a really good player. Like, his mentals are solid, his vision and creativity is good. If he doesn't work out as a striker, maybe I try him at centre mid, maybe I try him at centre attacking mid. Could train him to play Rachid if I really wanted to. He has some serious quality. Started his career at Everton. Admittedly, in this universe, Everton have just not been a very good team. Did get 11 goals for them last year, so he is capable of putting the ball in the back of the net. I mean, 6 goals in 12 caps for England. That ain't bad. I suppose crucially now we're waiting to see if the sale goes through of Rachid Mohamed, and then obviously if our bid is accepted contract-wise for Jonathan Banks here. Good news is, despite Man City's interest, they've not made a bid for him yet. I do feel sad about the idea of selling Rachid Mohamed, but I do feel like with Barrett signed and Banks potentially coming in, it will mean our attack has been upgraded. I did look at defenders as well. For people wondering, why aren't you looking at centre-backs? I've looked at defenders. They don't exist. It's like the dinosaurs with the asteroid, except the asteroid came down and killed all but my English centre-backs, basically. There's just not many good ones out there. I mean, the English centre-backs that are available are Gray, who's 32 and plays for Liverpool, Declan Rice, who I can't sign from Arsenal, and to be fair, is getting on the older side of things, and then Branthwaite, who, I mean, he's just not good, is he? I feel like my centre-back options are better than him. Caleb Anson's been called up to take part in the Olympics for Italy. He might now not be available for the start of the season. I hate the Olympics in Football Manager. Hatswell signed a new contract and he's happy, so that's good. That's like one of 5 players who asked for a new contract who I've actually given a contract to. We're 2 weeks into July now. I was about to say I'm not getting any news. I am getting some news. Rachid Mohamed is set to leave and we are getting £54 million for him. He's a good player. I don't think he's £54 million good. And I feel like when you look at the strikers that we've got, it's definitely a blow losing him that I can stomach. I missed an inbox item. I missed an inbox item. Jonathan Banks has signed a new deal with Everton to stay at Everton. He's just stayed. I've sold Rachid Mohamed and I maybe didn't need to. I mean, saying all of that, like, we have still got Chris Barrett to come into the team, who I'd argue is a better player. Am I losing my mind thinking he's better? I feel like he is better, isn't he? I am now very upset about Banks, though. I mean, in a weird way, selling Rachid Mohamed does solve the issue of the fact that I needed to get rid of Meredith and no one wanted him. But it's not exactly how I imagine things working out. I mean, suddenly I've got £54 million transfer budget. I can free up some wage budget now. Who can I sign for £48 million? I feel like I'm back at square one here now. We're basically back where we started, where there's just no English players good enough to be worth signing. Am I just done for the window now? I mean, Rachid Mohamed sold, Chris Barrett signed, £20 million of profit made, and I have no one to spend it on. I am back now just looking at centre-back options, because I feel like if I was going to sign a player anywhere, maybe centre-back would be the play. Part of me is now tempted just to spend a load of money on Jordan Naylor-Clark and hope that the 18-year-old's worth it. But a temperamental, inconsistent centre-back doesn't feel like a great mix. I'm sat looking through this list of players, and I've looked through it quite a lot. It's not exactly a big list of players who are good enough for me to sign to kind of look through. I don't think there's anyone worth spending money on right now. I'm going to be honest, I'm absolutely fuming that Jonathan Banks has turned down the contract. I'm more annoyed I didn't see it until after I'd already sold Rachid Mohamed 2 days later. I mean, maybe I've been saved from myself. Let me know, would you have signed Jonathan Banks? Was I cooking with this idea, or was this an awful idea and the game has saved me? We are now up to the England national team consisting of 7 of my players as well. Like, in terms of players that are English left to sign, there's not that many. Apparently, Joseph Butterworth's available from Chelsea for £12 million. Apparently, he's in the England squad right now. No idea how or why he's in the England squad. I'm not going to spend money on him, obviously. And then when it comes to the under-21s, I mean, I've got it fairly thoroughly scouted here. I suppose I can scout it more. Badini and Naylor-Clark are the 2 top players here that I already mentioned, that I have got shortlisted just to keep an eye on them. But I don't feel like either of them are players I feel like I'm comfortable taking a risk on. I do feel a bit sad seeing Rachid Mohamed go, but you know what? For a player we signed for £4.4 million, and he never got more than 11 league goals in a season for us in the Premier League, I feel like we're doing quite well to get 56 mil. I'm in a weird spot right now because I can play through the rest of pre-season. Genuinely, I don't think I'm going to be signing anyone ahead of the Community Shield in 18 days' time, where Caleb Anson, I think, is going to be on international duty at the bloody Olympics. It's worth noting the Media Dream 11 for the Community Shield has 1 player in it from our team, and it's Andy White. The rest of the Media Dream 11 is Arsenal players. People were mentioning, by the way, the Arsenal goalkeeping situation. Tadaro is their first choice goalkeeper now. You might remember they had another Brazilian goalkeeper as well. I think Arsenal in this universe literally possess the best 2 goalkeepers in the world. I mean, here is their 2 goalkeepers. It is silly, isn't it? It is silly. Tadaro, by the way, they signed on a free transfer. Not sure what Genoa were doing. No idea why no one else made bids for him. Interesting to note, despite the fact that in the Media Dream 11, he is considered the best player. He was the second choice goalkeeper last year for Arsenal. They're a weird football team. Okay, folks, you know what? I'm going to leave things there for now. I might still try and get some deals done, but I can't see anything right now, and I'm not really sure what the play is. I can play through the rest of the transfer window a little slower over the weekend. As a reminder, get down in the comments, name the stadium. The most voted comment for our new stadium name will be the name that we go with. I really appreciate you guys supporting and watching the series as always. Like I mentioned, FM25 news, at least at the time of recording, is still up in the air. Who knows? Football Manager might now drop some news this afternoon as I record this on a Thursday. Nevertheless, I'm going to leave things there. We're not going to worry about FM25. I mentioned last episode there might only be 1 season left. There's possibly a few more. So don't go changing. Keep enjoying the series. Leave a like if you enjoyed. And I'm going to go lay down. What an awful episode today in terms of what we've managed to get done. I'm sad.